Hi. Let's just do this quite roughly. You know? This is something that I've been meaning to teach. I was just not exactly sure if I should use this particular platform. And it's really just something that is helpful when it comes to communicating with other people and especially understanding. I think quite importantly when you are building relationships, right? Whether it's relationships with colleagues, friends, lovers, spouse. The thing is, when you talk to people, but let me say this and then I'll explain and then I'll come back again. When you talk to people, assume you're dealing with two individuals. Not that people have like dual personalities or anything like that, right? But at all times, just assume that you're dealing with two individuals. It's one person, one physical body, but that you're dealing with two separate individuals. I'll come back and explain that. I just had to say that before I forget. The thing is, oftentimes we have misunderstandings, especially in relationships, right? So somebody says something, and then the other person all of a sudden gets offended, and then they're angry or they're hurt, right? Or they feel as if they're being criticized or not being valued. People get offended in conversation, and oftentimes it's because the message that was being conveyed is either misunderstood, or sometimes it was just painful, or sometimes it feels like, this person actually does not understand me. Now, when you deal with individuals, I want you to look at them as, especially when they're hurt, and you will know when a person is hurt. Either the attitude will change, either their demeanor will change towards you, either their voice will change, right? This is the reason why when you're communicating, you also listen. You really listen attentively. You don't only listen, never ever only listen to what a person says. Listen to how they said it. Listen to the nuances, even of their body. Listen to the silences, the pauses, right? So you can fully understand what a person is trying to convey to you. But I've come to a place where I'm like, okay, you know what? And this is a conversation I was having with myself, as one does. At one point, I was like, I put myself in a scenario and I was kind of like breaking it down because, to make it a little bit more practical, because my mind is, a wonderful space of imagination. And what I was doing is conveying, okay, no, that's probably gonna sound a little crazier. Let me put it this way. When you deal with somebody, and one of the things, especially when you're offended, right? One thing, when you're offended, do this. Ask the individual, was your intention about what you just said, or in this conversation, was your intention to offend me? Was your intention to hurt me? Was that like a deliberate? Because you can get hurt, whether the person intends it or not you can still get hurt as a person, right? So when you are the offended party, try and ask the question, was what you were trying to do right now meant to offend? Was it meant to hurt? And sometimes it can, and if it was, then you can try and break it down. Why would this person who cares about you deliberately try and hurt you or offend you? Oftentimes, some things, honestly, when you get to the bottom of it, was not an offense. It's just that the other person is communicating from their lens, right? They're communicating from their reality, from their experiences, from their biases. And because you are also listening again with the same thing, your biases, your experiences, your traumas and stuff like that. And so if you can understand that what the person was saying was not meant to offend or hurt, then you guys can try and break it down in terms of, okay, fine, then this still hurt me, and it was probably because of A, B, C, D. Maybe that's how the message was conveyed. But then the second part of it, which I said, deal with people as if you're dealing with two individuals, is this. More often than not, right, we deal with the adult is usually just the body for the internal child that you're dealing with. Sometimes people are traumatized, right? And usually when we talk about trauma, we're really not just talking about sexual trauma, but people really are traumatized. And sometimes when you're talking to a person, even if they're an adult, never be like, I cannot believe you're grown, a grown man or like a grown woman reasoning like this or talking like this. Never, ever, ever say that to individuals, because oftentimes when that happens, you're actually not dealing with the adult. You're actually dealing with a wounded child. You're dealing with somebody who's probably scared of attachment in that moment. You're probably dealing with somebody who's scared of trusting in that moment, or somebody who's just been triggered by whatever it is that the situation is. So get down to their level, not condescendingly, but really just get down to their level. And I feel like if you can have a conversation with your partner, right? Especially with your partner, and if you can be able to tell them, listen, introduce me to who you are right now. Like, this is the reason why we continuously need to introduce one another to like, we need to introduce ourselves to one another continuously. Because sometimes you meet a person that I've never met this person before. Like, I've never met this version of them before. Maybe this is a wounded version of them. So deal with them like, you know what, I'm not even going to deal with what the adult needs right now. But in terms of this wounded child that you're dealing with, what do you need from me right now? Say, for example, if I am experiencing something like, I feel like I'm being rejected right now, right? Maybe by what the person is saying or what they're doing, the person shouldn't be like, yeah, you know what, I mean, come on, like, you're an adult, we are all busy, and we don't have time to deal with some of these things. And no, instead of saying that, you would assume that the adult must understand that people are busy, right? The time is a commodity that we don't have right now. You know that you don't have enough time to sit and no, but compromise in that moment to be like, you know what does the wounded person need right now? What does the wounded child need right now? Or not even just a child, right? Because some of the trauma and the wounds that we've experienced is not necessarily just when we're children. So what does the wounded person need? Maybe what the wounded person need is a little bit of understanding. Maybe they need you to just sit on your knees, right? Physically or metaphorically, and just come to their level and be like, you know what, right now, I'm here. Like, I'm here for you. Like, you don't have to feel as if you're gonna get rejected, or as if I'm gonna run away, or as if you're not important. Like, meet the needs of the person of the wounded level, not what you're seeing on the physical outside, like the adult that you're dealing with right now, or the person that you're seeing on the physical that you've gotten to know. Because there's a lot of woundedness in us as well that needs to be addressed. And the only way we're going to fast track the healing process of any and many individuals is when we acknowledge them in that moment. So this is beautiful, for example, if you have spoken about the traumas that you've experienced, right? So say, for example, you're dealing with somebody who's been raped before. And one of the things that they're probably being re-triggered right now is the fact that they're losing control, or is the fact that they're feeling unsafe. And the thing is, you don't have to like physically probably like touch them or anything, but trauma can be triggered by a variety of things, right? It can be triggered by emotions. It can trigger by voice, whatever it is that is traumatizing that person right now. So say for example, I'm feeling unsafe and I have a trauma of rape, right? That's just one of the moments where people feel like as if they're being robbed and their power is being removed from them. So when a person you're realizing, this about this person probably, and you're like, whoa, like what just happened right now has put this person in a state where they feel, so what will happen to the other person is either they're going to become aggressive, they'll be defensive, they'll be dismissive, they'll shut you out or anything like that. What you can try and do, knowing what your person is going through, is like, you know what? I don't know how to make it better for you. And I'm not here to fix your past or even your present. The only thing I can remind you is that right now, your body is safe with me. That right now, you still have autonomy over your body. You still have a choice. I am here to protect you. And however that person experiences safety, all you do in that moment is to provide for them safety. And you're like, right now, your body is safe with me. If a person had experienced probably emotional trauma, what you're experiencing and the safety is the retriggering thing right now. You're like, right now, your emotions are safe with me. Right now, however you express yourself is safe with me. I'm giving you the room to feel. And that's really all people need, bruh. So deal with people in duality. Deal with people in, They're the healed version, but they're also probably the wounded version. They are the healed version, or the external version that never really necessarily presents the pains, the traumas, the fears that they're probably experiencing. But then there's also another part of them that is so vulnerable. Humans are vulnerable. Men are vulnerable. Women are vulnerable. And we really need to treat one another with such a depth of empathy that we're like, you know what? Right now, it's not even about me. Even if a person offends you, sometimes, honestly, not often, but sometimes people offend you from a wounded place. Sometimes a person will tell you something really painful, man. Why? Because it's a defensive mechanism. That if I throw this at them, if I punch them right now with these words, they will withdraw. And withdrawal is what they feel safe in. Because probably they're being triggered by a moment where somebody just walked out of their life. Maybe a parent walked out of their life, right? Maybe somebody walked out of a relationship that they valued. And so they feel like in order for them to feel safe or control in this moment, that you need to leave as well. But sometimes love is not leaving, is being there. And sometimes love is receiving the punches from people. And honestly, I personally feel like one of the best gifts that a person can give me, especially in a moment when I'm triggered, right, is to say, right now, Asante, I am willing to be a punching bag for you. Like, I am willing right now for you to punch me as hard as you possibly can. And I don't mean like physically punching, right? But a person just giving me the room to just emotionally punch, to just get it all out of my system. And knowing that I'm not doing it to hurt them, but I'm doing it so that I can somehow regulate, so that the inner child in me can get to know, wow, they stayed. Wow, they actually care. Wow, they're actually protecting me. Wow, they're actually listening to me, right? And we need that as human beings. We really, really, really need safe spaces in which our wounds can be acknowledged. Sometimes the wounds that people have experienced have never been acknowledged. And the least or the best thing that you can ever do for the person that you love is just to be like, you know what? You're safe right now. You're safe to be wounded. You're safe to be vulnerable. You're safe to just break. And I will still be here. I'll still be here to wipe the tears. I'll still be here to help you figure it out. Because sometimes people are just expected to move on. People are just expected to be strong. People are just expected to you know what, there's clinkies. No, there's certain things that happen in your life, my brother, wounded you. And it doesn't have to make sense to everybody else. But a simple thing as your mother telling you, yes, dumb man, or your parents telling you something like, you're stupid, may have wounded you. And then here you are trying to express yourself, right? Trying to convey an opinion, but that voice remains that you're stupid. And so you act out. And that's okay. We really need to create those little safe spaces for one another to be like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, what is it that you need? This is why, guys, I honestly feel like vulnerable conversations are important. Conversations about the things that really hurt you. It doesn't have to make sense to me. What hurt you needn't make sense to me. But if we can talk about it, if we can share as much as we possibly can, if we can break the barriers, if you can be like, you know what, I know I come off as confident, but to be honest with you, this is something that I struggle with. So that when you're in that moment of vulnerability, your person, right, can be able, or you can be able to ask the other person, what do you need from me right now? When your dad walked away from you when you were a kid, how did that affect your relationships with people? What did you need then? No, really, what should have happened for the situation to be different? What did you need then? When you were sexually assaulted, what did you need in that moment? When you're verbally abused, what did you need in that moment? And how can I embody what you needed then now, because you still need it now in this moment of being triggered. Yeah, that's the 2 cents for the day, man.